When I call the Green Movement communist in its nature, maybe that is being too gentle of a term. What it is doing to rural America, oil jobs, coal jobs, fracking jobs. Right now, rural American and rural American energy workers are struggling tremendously, and they are being ignored.
That's my next guest coming up here testifying before Congress on the push toward green energy. Speaker McCarthy is calling to end green tax credits, a lot of them anyway, as part of a Republican plan to raise the debt ceiling. Watch this fight now. Daniel Turner, founder and executive director of Power the Future. And Daniel, good morning to you.
Thanks for having me on.
Wow, I got another soundbite from you in a moment here, but what was your basic point yesterday you're trying to make?
Yeah, there's a movement here that the Green Movement, which is highly centralized, it is top down, and it does not allow any market signals. And that is a communist movement in its nature. The point I tried to make to the committee over and over again is world coal consumption, for example, continues to go up. We are not using less coal, we're using more. But somehow this administration is telling us that that coal cannot come from places like Wyoming or West Virginia. So my question is, if we need more coal, especially to make wind and solar and EVs, why can American coal jobs not be the producers? Why can't we get the tax credits, the tax revenue, and the jobs? And no one on the committee had an answer for me. And that type of centralized, top-down refusal of having market signals economy is communist. I'm sorry, okay. There's no other way to call it.
I want to play this clip for our audience to hear, because this is where you're coming from when you talk about cracking down on green energy and the push for that in Washington and around the world. Play it.
There are billionaires who fund green groups in this country that invest in foreign coal, and they will tell you that they will be damned if a man in West Virginia works in a coal mine, but a 9-year-old girl in Malaysia or Indonesia or China, they have absolutely no problem with.
The point there is that you see hypocrisy in all of this policy.
Absolutely. We produce all of our fossil fuels in the cleanest, the most humanitarian, the most environmentally conscientious way possible. These are labor, union jobs. These are good-paying jobs that sustain communities. And yet we are foregoing them. We are forcing them to close. And you see mines opening with slave labor, child labor, terrible environmental track records, and somehow we're calling this green. Somehow we're calling this progressive, and we're saying we're doing our part to fight climate change. And it's one gigantic lie. And, you know, Bill, I think between this hearing, other hearings happening, the American people are sick and tired of the lies coming from government and trying to convince us that things are okay when things actually are not.
All right, so Ian McCarthy's plan to raise the debt ceiling, in return for raising the debt ceiling, the Republicans want to pull back on a lot of these green energy policies right now, and you know what the comeback is going to be. Here's one of them, Debbie Stabenow from Michigan. She says Speaker McCarthy commits to slashing American manufacturing jobs. What an asinine idea. All right, so that's where the heat's going to come from. Where is the compromise, or is there one, Daniel?
70% of these green technologies are manufactured in China with markets that they control 90 to 95%, the rare earth, the minerals, the metals markets. All of these green subsidies, all these tax revenues and tax incentives are all benefiting communist China. And quite frankly, telling someone who's going to buy a $60,000 electric vehicle, here's a $7,500 rebate, who's being subsidized for that? Where's the quote-unquote equity in telling a rich person, hey, look, here's a green toy, and we'll give you $7,500 off to buy it? It's not benefiting regular Americans. It's not benefiting lower wage Americans. It's benefiting communist China and rich elite who have guilty consciences because of climate change and want to buy an EV.
Well, Shelley Moore Capito knows a lot about energy coming from West Virginia. She thinks the permitting reform might be where you reach a compromise. We'll see whether she's right in the end, but you had strong words yesterday. Thanks for coming on, Daniel. Daniel Turner.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dana.